Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. Come on in, take a seat, and join us as we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. My name is Thomas the Human Bard, and I am joined today by...
Onog, the half-orc barbarian. Where is everybody else?
Have you noticed that the whole town is, empty?
Yeah, even Clancy's not here.
I've been seeing, radio static in my peripheral vision recently. Is that normal?
How do you know what radio static is? Never mind. Yeah, and, every once in a while I'll hear, it sounds like somebody's walking behind me, but then when I turn around, there's nothing there.
Huh. Well, probably not worth looking into. On today's episode of the Copper Fox Inn, Onog and I, the only two people who've ever been on this show, are going to be discussing another listener submission that was sent to us by somebody on the internet. Which is a great name. Thank you very much for your submission, somebody on the internet.
Wait, you weren't joking? That's their screen
the name.
That's amazing.
Very good. Fantastic. This is the Paladin Oath, Sacred Oath, the Oath of Revelry. So I've got an upfront question for you, Onog, to kind of take a top-down approach here.
Hit me.
Have you ever played a Paladin?
I have played a Paladin.
Have you ever played a Bard?
Only, for a brief period of time. It was a one-shot.
Have you ever played a multi-class Paladin and Bard?
I haven't, but I have definitely brewed that as a smite machine.
Have you ever wished that you didn't have to multi-class to be both a Paladin and a Bard?
I mean, the reason I would be multi-classing would be to get the extra spell slots, but let's continue down this vein.
Yeah. The Oath of Revelry is one taken often by worshippers of gods of wealth, music, love, and dance. They can typically be mistaken for bards with their fun-centric and performative nature. But
okay, so it even goes out and says that. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. But it's very directly here. But are in fact paladins who have sworn themselves to the pursuit of a life filled with jolly and vibrant glee. Paladins of the Oath of Revelry enjoy the luxurious activities of life and often can be found in taverns drinking and performing a storm, so much so that it may rival your average entertainer. They can often take positions of leadership as they inspire their compatriots with their desire for leisure and the promise of a good ale once the fight is over.
There should also be another footnote here, is that they are arch nemesis to any Oath of Vengeance paladins, just say.
They are diametrically opposed to the Oath of Vengeance paladins.
In every way, shape, or form.
Uh-huh. What is the one class in, the subclass in D&D you think would be the most opposed to the party life, to live in that good singing and dancing and drinking
probably
time?
Conquest or Vengeance. Yeah,
I think maybe one of the monks who's the more the transcendent, they're hey, quiet down, I'm trying to meditate, you know what I mean?
No, because even monks have the Drunken Master subclass.
See Drunken Master I think would vibe with this, but maybe the
life and death guys, the light and shadow, whatever they're called,
the doctor ones,
the new and in Tasha's hideous laughing cauldron of all laughter.
It's just gonna get longer and worse every time we say it.
Yep, every time.
Tasha's horrible, hideous, homunculus cauldron of caustic laughter and bruise. Tenets of Revelry. The tenets of the Oath of Revelry hold a paladin to a life of joy and laughter. A life to the fullest. You must spend your life in devotion to trying new things and living the best life you can. Keep the crowd cheering. Companions are a gift from the gods. Make sure they are in good spirits for as long as they stand by you. Leisure and laughter. The commodities of luxury that surround us were made in order to put us in a good mood. Why ignore these gifts from the gods when you can indulge yourself a little?
Okay.
So, we begin with oath spells. You gain oath spells.
It's not so much really a bard thing as it's a Dionysus paladin, basically.
Yeah. It's paladins, which is interesting because this obviously has the oath and everything, but in 5th edition, paladins aren't actually always worshippers of any god. They just take oaths. It's not in previous editions.
They're not actually tied down to a specific religion like clerics.
Yeah, in previous editions, it was very religion focused, but in 5th edition, you can just have sworn an oath to get revenge. You don't have to be like a worshiper of a revenge god or anything like that. You just, whatever. But with this one, it's very specific to that vibe of like, everything in life is a blessing from the gods, so let's all have a good time and get drunk and party.
Let's rock out, dude.
So you gain oath spells at the paladin levels listed in the Oath of Revelry spell table. The spells are Charm Person, Healing Word, Misty Step, Phantasmal Force, Blink, Leomin's Tiny Hut, Greater Invisibility, Phantasmal Killer, Geas, and Seeming.
All right, then we took a weird turn there at the end.
As I had been reading through this, I don't know if I get the flavor here, but maybe, I mean, you got a limited selection for paladin spells, really.
You got somebody so sloshed that you summon a demon to kill them.
They partied so hard that they thought that the party was killing them. Or I guess seeming for when you need to look like a bunch of party goers, but aren't? I'm not sure.
I mean, that's a thing, like, getting people, especially if this keeps going with like the inebriation trend of like, it's like making people see things that aren't there. Like that trend.
That's fair. That's fair. Battle dancing.
All right.
In return for swearing your oath, your god teaches you how to craft divine magic into your dancing, coming up with an interesting way to fight in combat. When you reach third level, you can now use your action to perform a form of dancing known as battle dancing.
And like full plate armor, just like starting to do the flamenco.
Make a DC 10 persuasion check to convince a target within 30 feet. When you convince your target, roll a contested charisma performance check. If you beat the enemy in the roll, choose one of the following options. Okay, there are 3 options: jazz dancing, tap dancing, and ballet dancing. Jazz dancing. You perform a splendid routine of kicks and hip swaying that entrances your foes. It's a real kind of like a Bob Fosse kind of vibe. Your foe takes 1d8 plus your charisma modifier, minimum of 0, psychic damage, and must make a wisdom saving throw. If the foe fails the save, the foe is charmed by you for 1 minute in awe of your performance. The foe will stand in awe of you, not taking any movements or actions. At the end of their turn, they will make a wisdom check. They will be charmed until they succeed on a wisdom check against your spell save DC, or until they are...
save. I think that means save. Because that's throwing me off, that word. The wisdom check.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, they make another... they can make the save again, essentially. Yes,
okay.
Correct. Against your spell save DC until they are attacked. The foe automatically succeeds if they are immune to charm effects. Okay. Tap dancing. You perform a series of clicks and clacks that make a pleasant sounding noise. Your foe takes 1d12 plus your charisma modifier, minimum of 0, thunder damage.
Okay. Oh, so, and that's all that does.
That's all that does.
You do a thunder tap. Okay.
It's more damage, but there's no secondary charm effect.
There's no secondary effect, yeah.
Yeah. Ballet dancing. You perform a graceful dance that pleases your allies and haunts your foes. Yeah, I've been to the ballet. I get that. Your foe takes 1d8 plus your charisma modifier, minimum of 0, psychic damage, and any allies who can see your dance regain hit points equal to your paladin level. That's pretty good.
Okay. So it's like a healing...
Yeah,
dance.
you keep a little bit of the damage in, right? You still get the 1d8 damage in, but you also get a little bit of kind of accidental healing along the way.
That's actually a huge boost of healing. That doesn't really cost a resource. That's very interesting. Unless there's like something that says there's only a certain number of times you can do this.
Well, yeah, we'll see here. You can spend a spell slot to add smite damage to the damage dealt by a battle dance. In addition, if you score a natural 20 on your charisma performance check, you can double the damage of your dance of choice. So essentially, it allows you to critical. If you decide to use this feature, and you have the extra attack feature, you can choose to perform another contested charisma performance check against the same creature or a separate creature within 10 feet of you without making a charisma persuasion check.
Okay.
Oof. So
you kind of have these weird little performances that you can make that just have different effects. Okay.
Yeah, cool. And if these were flavored as types of attack, like a battle master maneuver, I think it would, like, we wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Like, sure, all right, you get 3 different
It's
maneuvers.
just very cute and funny that it's like dancing.
Yeah, and it kind of has this interesting upfront where you're not really making attack rolls or anything. You're doing a series of you have to persuade them to dance, and then you have a contested charisma check.
Yeah, that is something that kind of irks me a little. Like I understand like making it like a performance check.
Yeah.
But I think it should just be a performance check. Like I don't understand why there's a separate persuasion check.
Well, that's because they have to agree. It's a consensual dance battle.
You have to get your aggravated enemy to consent to dance with you, even though they know it's just going to hurt them. Like,
yeah, I think that
I think that's and it, not only that, but it's like a streamlining of gameplay to stop combat to make you do 2 separate roles. That not only are they 2 separate roles, but they require 2 separate skills. I think that would break up the flow of combat. I like the concept and I like the flavor of it, but I think it just needs to be either one or the other. I don't think. Yeah. I think having both is maybe a little much.
I find myself often in my own homebrewing realizing if I have to make a check in order to make a check, I should probably just make there should just be a check. Yeah. And it's like you can find a way to work that in and how that needs to be balanced out. But generally speaking, if you find yourself in it's kind of like a trap of design of being like, aha, and if they fail that check.
This was the problem with 3.5 grappling.
Yes.
Is you had to make like 3 separate and distinct checks even to initiate a grapple. So nobody did it in 3.5. You know, it's one of those things where it's like it felt bad, even though like technically it's like, well, yes, you have to roll a strength check to see if you can hold them. You have to have a grappling check to see if your fingers are strong enough. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like just streamline it, and it'll be a lot smoother.
There's some element of verisimilitude, which, for those unfamiliar with the word, verisimilitude references stories or concepts or fiction reflecting real-life elements in a way that's not necessarily accurate, but feels more accurate. Like, It makes sense, verisimilitude-wise, to be like, no, they would. Why would they dance battle me if I haven't convinced them yet? But you can find a way for your players to justify that if you kind of collapse it into a single system. And instead of having a roll to do a check to do a save, just have it all be a 1 dice roll and narrow that down to however that needs to work out for the balance of the mechanic. Channel Divinity. When you take this oath at 3rd level, you gain the following 2 Channel Divinity options. See the Sacred Oath class feature for how Channel Divinities work. Relaxing Presence. You can use your Channel Divinity to shed presence filled with joy and cheer, causing others to relax their muscles and unwind around you. As a bonus action, you cause all foes within 15 feet to make a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. If they fail, any attack rolls made against the foe will have advantage. Also, that foe has disadvantage on any Strength and Dexterity saving throws.
Does it have for how long? Yeah.
Yeah, great question.
I think because that's one of those things where that's really good. That's really powerful. Let's keep reading the rest of the channel before we start talking about it.
Footwork of the divine.
Footwork of the divine.
Footwork of the divine. You can use your Channel Divinity to put an extra divine pizzazz into your battle dances from your deity of choice. When you engage in a battle dance, you can spend your Channel Divinity in order to give yourself advantage on your Charisma performance check, and will deal an additional 1d6 radiant damage on a successful contested check. So when you win your dance battle, which you're more likely to because you
have advantage now.
You also deal some extra radiant damage as the divine blessing kind of shines around you as you do your river jig or whatever, your clogging.
Okay.
I like that one. I think that one's pretty straightforward to the point. It lets you
that's pretty neat.
Burn that on,
It seems a little underpowered. Like it gives you advantage on. It's the equivalent of giving yourself advantage on 1 attack.
Sure.
So in like direct contrast to Relaxing Presence, I think that one could do with a little maybe a little bumping up, like maybe a time period or a number of rounds that this works or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
Because the thing that tips me off though about Relaxing Presence is that's like it's very similar to the Vengeance Paladin. Now that we mentioned him, the Vengeance Paladins channel divinities, in that they have to channel their divinity and also utilize one of their other abilities to just they gain advantage on attack rolls.
Yep.
On a creature for the rest of combat. So unless this has like some kind of like round restriction or something like that, this is just strictly better than the Oath of Vengeance divine channel divinity, which is. But other than that, I love the flavor of these and things like that. It's just I think the physical mechanics need a little workaround so that it's not just strictly better than another opportunity or another subclass of the same class.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like the vibe of the relaxing presence. I do wonder if maybe if I was going to be designing something like this and I had relaxing presence as one of my divinities, that would feel more, especially for a bard who loves like revelry and relaxing with their friends. My first thought would be that should affect my team, like should benefit my teammates by relaxing them.
Like it chills them out.
Yeah, instead of relaxing. So it's like maybe getting advantage against wisdom saving throws because they're more mellow or whatever, right? Instead of this, which is like it makes the enemies so mellow they can't fight effectively, which is cool, and that's totally a fine way to do it. But it was definitely something where I thought this was going to be more like support based for a divinity, so that it would be
oh gosh,
aha, dance calms everyone.
I just reread Relaxing Presence. It's so much more powerful than I thought it was. It's as a bonus action, cause all foes within 15 feet to make a wisdom saving throw. So not only is it like all of your teammates get advantage on attacks against one person, it's all of your teammates get advantage on attacks against anybody who fails the save, and also you get your action.
Yeah,
that might be a bit too powerful.
A little overclocked, perhaps.
Yeah,
but really, really interesting.
But I love the direction of it's like it's very the weed domain cleric of it. It relaxes your foes, and then everybody just wallops on them.
Chill out, man, and then you beat the crap out of them.
It's like, why am I so relaxed? They keep hitting me.
No, stop, don't.
Police.
Aura of Leisure. Starting at 7th level, you naturally exude a charming and vibrant aura while you're not incapacitated. The aura extends 10 feet in every direction, but not through total cover. If an ally of yours enters within your aura, they are given temporary hit points equal to half your paladin level for 1 minute. In addition, if an enemy enters your aura's range, you can use your reaction to either cast Calm Emotions without expending a spell slot and material components, or engage in a battle dance. Once you use this part of the feature, you cannot do so again until you finish either a short or long rest. At 18th level, the range of the aura increases to 30 feet.
Oh. Wow. That is very powerful.
It's really good. It's got so much. It's one of those things where in Magic the Gathering, there's something called quadrant theory.
Go ahead.
It's about if a magic card in Magic the Gathering, the trading card game, if like judging a card's power based on how good it is at different points in a game. How good is it when you are already winning the game? How good is it when you're losing the game? How good is it when you're at parity with your opponent? And I don't know what the fourth one is. I forget. But
yeah. I've heard a similar thing with like early game, late game, mid-range kind of a thing.
Sure. Yeah. And so it's like, if I'm behind, this does nothing for me. Or if I'm ahead, this does nothing for me. If you find that a card is good in all of those scenarios, it's probably a little too good.
It's probably too powerful, yeah.
And this is great for if you're getting hurt by your opponents. It's great for if you're already winning and you just want to end the battle faster.
So you just calm emotion everybody, yeah.
Uh-huh. It's great for if the battle's kind of at a standstill and you need a little bit of a leg up to keep going. Like, it's really good no matter what's going on.
There is something to be said, and once again, it's kind of back to that, like, oh, you can just heal your allies without expending a resource. There's a very specific reason why that's not a thing in normal Dungeons and Dragons, is that why there isn't just a simple like healing cantrip, because healing needs to cost resources. And so
Sure.
with Aura of Leisure, your allies just entering your aura triggers them gaining temporary hit points. Never underestimate, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant, free, repeatable temporary hit points. As someone who had to design an entire barbarian subclass for a job I used to have that I no longer have, I found out the hard way that if you just give something free temporary hit points, because I had it was a barbarian subclass that every time you raged you gained temporary hit points, and then depending on what happened or what like sub-race or subclass you chose, like different things happened when those hit points were depleted. And I thought I was coming at it from a very unique perspective of like, yeah, it's all about like gaining those hit points and then losing them on purpose. Like, but then I didn't realize, because I had tied it to rage and given no other stipulations, at a certain point, barbarians gain infinite rages. So these barbarians literally could not die because they were able to just every turn as a bonus action I rage and gain back all my temporary hit points.
Yeah.
Once they hit a certain level, and I was playing around with the fact of like, maybe because they're that high level they deserve to live forever. Like, I don't know, but so with this, like, all your players have to do is walk out, walk back in. All they have to do is move 5 feet, and they've gained all their temporary hit points back. Yeah,
which could potentially be like a mechanical oversight, or it could be intended, of course. But if it said something like, when your ally enters your aura for the first time, they're given hit points equal to your paladin level. It's like, okay, what you meant was like they come in, they get that, and they can't get it again for this aura. I'll have to cast another aura, right? But how it's written right now, they can move 5 feet in, 5 feet out, 5 feet in, 5 feet out every turn and keep doing it.
And also, auras are an always on thing.
Yeah,
it's not like a spell or something like that. Like, so any time, and that's the other thing too, is auras very rarely have on enter effects. They have, this is a thing that happens while you are within 10 feet or 30 feet of me. And so this, I mean, I like it as like a kind of a new design thing, but outside of combat, this becomes a nightmare, because anytime someone comes within 10 feet of your paladin, they gain temporary hit points, like no matter what. Like, it doesn't say they may, or does it? Let me see. Yeah, so even against their own will, they start becoming healthier by just standing next to you. It's kind of weird, and then like, this is like, and I don't mean to bash on this. Like, I like the concept this is going for, but there's a lot of different logistical things. So it's like, if you are in the aura but it's been more than a minute, the temporary hit points fade. So then I have to run away from the paladin and run back towards them to trigger the temporary hit points again. It's kind of weird. And also, like, this feels like a very paladin-y thing to do, because it is something that a lot of paladin spells do. So at the same time, like, heroism is a very good example. It constantly refills a temporary hit points on the target of the spell, and it can be yourself or it can be somebody else, and it also gives you like immunity to fear. So it's like it's boosting your health and giving you immunity to a status effect. It's a very paladin, but with this paladin, that spell becomes less useful because your aura is already giving them more temporary hit points than your spell would be giving them, which is an expenditure of resources. So this paladin would never take heroism.
Points. Yeah, temporary hit points can't stack, so it doesn't matter.
They can't stack on each other.
Yeah.
So like, this is a very cool idea, and it's very good thinking in the right direction, but it is like, it's pseudo non-bows with other paladin abilities, and it becomes very clunky in its execution, I think.
Yeah.
And also makes immortal parties that cannot die.
It's also just so good. Yeah, it's really, really good. All right. Bringer of Cheer. Starting at 15th level, your deity spreads cheer and good fortune through your words and movements. Whenever you perform a battle dance or cast a spell, you may use your bonus action to grant temporary hit points.
Okay.
Equal to 1d8 plus half your paladin level to any ally you can see within 60 feet, a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. You recover all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
See, yeah, that one doesn't bother me so much because it has.
See, that one's good.
It's
I
a
actually think
limited
that one's
use,
very good.
and it's very cool, and it's like something that you can give. The other thing I love about this Paladin is that their one of their third level spells is Healing Word, so I love that this is kind of like a distance Paladin. And that like even in the design of the aura it's like you're not supposed to just stay next to this guy. You're supposed to leave and come back and leave and come back. And then like he has all this distance healing that he can grant you.
Well, you're bringing the paladin of the drinks from the bar for the party.
Yeah,
so you gotta keep
so
coming
you're going back and forth. Yeah, you're loading them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love this. It's a expenditure of a resource, but it also is like something you can do as part of another action to give temporary hit points to your friends. It's very cool. I like this. I like Bringer of Cheer a lot.
Yeah. I do have to say, real quick sidebar, if Mercy was here, she would spend a few minutes discussing how much she likes the art on this page. This tiefling paladin is incredibly interestingly designed and is right up Mercy's artistic alley. So I have to make a note of that, or she will never let me live it down that I didn't mention how cool that art is. So very good art. That is
very good art.
Yes.
And a very good kind of like embodiment of what this kind of represents. It's like a heavily armor-clad, like it's not just a bard though, but it's like a warrior that knows how to party, kind of.
Yeah, they know how to get down. Divine Indulger. At 20th level, you can channel the purest essence of divine joyousness and dance. As an action, you become an avatar of leisure and revelry, gaining the following benefits for 1 minute. Quite a few paladins have some sort of like avatar state that they enter.
Yeah.
20th
classic,
level. It's pretty typical.
Classic paladin subclass capstone.
Yep. You and those within your aura of leisure regain the maximum number of hit points possible from any healing.
Okay, that's really good. Really cool.
You gain advantage on all charisma checks and saving throws, which means that you now always have advantage on your dance, which means that your one channel divinity doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah. Oh, that is something.
When you use the battle dance action, you can target an additional foe without performing a second charisma persuasion check. In addition, you will score a critical hit if you roll a 19 or 20 on the d20. Mm-hmm. So originally it had said if you roll a 20, it basically treats it like a critical hit, but now it says a 19 or 20.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's very similar to another like angel form paladin, like capstone, if I remember correctly. I think it's very similar to the vengeance one, at least in that aspect. This is pretty neat.
Yeah.
In that aspect, as it's kind of utilizing. I do love you gain advantage on charisma checks and saving throws, because as a paladin, like I would presume at level 20 you have at least 20 or more charisma. Which means your base charisma saving throw is like plus 11 already, and so now this gives you so it's already plus 11 because you're proficient in it, and then your auras naturally give your charisma modifier to everyone within your aura, so then it becomes an additional plus 5, so it's already plus 16, and now you have advantage on charisma saving throws. So it's like nothing. Oh boy. No sentient sword is taking over your mind today. Let's just leave it at that.
Oh, so does that then free you up to party with Black Razor?
Yeah, you can wield Black Razor without any fear.
That would be kind of an interesting decision for like a class built of joy and cheer, who basically it like makes them immune to the negative effects of a lot of cursed items because they're partiers. Mm-hmm. So they like mixing it up with some dangerous stuff every once in a while. You know what I mean? Introduce a little Black Razor to the party. And things start getting wild. That's really fun. I like that.
That's very cool. But yeah,
that's the Paladin, Oath of Revelry. There's some really interesting stuff here. The concept of like battle dancing, getting in these dance battles. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. I wish it was. I think overall, I wish that was a bard feature, a bard subclass, the battle dancing. I think a dancing bard
that would work very well.
a b-boy or a b-girl bard would be a really interesting design space to go with. The other aspects of it, of being a sort of heavily charisma focused, emotional control paladin who wants to kind of stay away from the fight but can calm people down and can heal their party, is like really heavily support based like that, and manipulates I like that concept a lot.
Yeah,
I think there's a good design space
cool.
there.
It's another thing to notice too is that the battle dancing is from what I can tell is sort of designed to replace attacking, because you can do this as an action instead of attacking basically, and all of it's all based on like your skill checks, which is very interesting. Yeah. Where it basically, and I think that's why that like persuasion check is there in the first place, even though like especially if you're proficient in persuasion, at being a charisma focused paladin, that DC 10 persuasion check becomes negligible at best, and at certain power levels you automatically roll above, like you have a plus 10 in persuasion, you know. So it like you automatically would succeed, but it's like all of this is charisma based attacking using performance to attack people is basically how I've perceived it. And I think is how it was designed, is that like you don't need to put your strength into stuff, just put everything into charisma and just zap people away with your charisma and like heal constantly. And like this is a very cool area control concept. It's kind of like the Hexblade Warlock build, where it's like they are allowed to use their charisma for stuff they would normally be using their strength or dexterity for.
Right.
And this is kind of like this is the Hexblade Paladin is basically what this is where they use their charisma for everything and they don't really need their strength.
Which is very interesting because, like, you know, as a paladin, you're already sometimes kind of splitting your stats amongst too many things. You want good charisma, but you want good strength and dexterity and constitution. Like, you want you want good lots of stuff. But with this, it's pretty much, hey, if you can skyrocket that charisma, the rest is more or less up to you. You want to be heavy and take a lot of hits, put it all into constitution. You want to, you know, for some reason you want to get better with your intelligence. I don't know.
There's no reason for that. You're not a wizard. Leave that alone.
Man, I wish intelligence mattered as a stat, but it's fine.
It might have if more classes used them, but you know.
Yeah. Or it governed anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is strength governs attacks. It's got
intelligence in 3.5 used to govern the number of languages you could know.
That's cool. That's interesting.
So it was actually very interesting because, as we've discussed before, orcs have negative intelligence modifiers in 3.5, but in the Pathfinder version, which is basically 3.5 but slightly different, but apparently legally distinct somehow. But I had made a character. I actually made Onog myself in Pathfinder, and I got to know like 3 different languages. But then when I made myself in 3.5, I was too stupid to know that many languages. And so when we changed versions, I became actively dumber.
You know, it's interesting. It's funny how the world be like that.
But that's a different discussion.
Yeah. But regardless, this is a very interesting design space for paladins. I like when there's a choice made that I can see where it's like, I've never seen a paladin like this before. I see a lot of paladin homebrews that are like, whatever, you know, champion of the winds paladin, and it's just about being a big sword fighter. It's like, I know, I get it. That's kind of what paladins already do. I've seen that, you know, even if it's got its own unique variations. I've seen that so many times in so many ways. Whereas this is like, have you ever seen a paladin that breakdances? I'm like, no, you don't know what? I have not.
I've never seen that. And also, like, mechanically, kind of the doubling down of this is like a support paladin is like really cool to see. It's a very cool place to be coming from, because paladins have always like pseudo been support / frontline fighters. Yeah. But this is the thing that goes like, no, like he's healing people, and that's pretty much what he's doing. You know, he's going to be doing some damage here and there, and can like make people like charmed by him too, charmed by them. But the most powerful thing this guy can do is just be constantly healing their teammates while simultaneously dealing damage. That's very cool.
Being the life of the party, everyone wants to go visit, but then they have to go back out into the mosh pit, and then they have to come back and like.
They're the designated driver. They're making sure everybody stays on their feet.
This paladins, they've got the water bottles, they got the orange slices.
It's like, here, take this. You need more electrolytes.
Hey, whoa. You need a Band-Aid? I got a Band-Aid.
You need my level and temporary hit points? Just walk closer to me. No, you have to walk closer to me. If I walk towards you, technically you're not entering. It's weird.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh,
that's the other eternal D&D argument is like, what counts as a creature, quote unquote, entering an area of effect? Is it them choosing to walk into that space? Is it just you moving around, and so you're just handing out temporary hit points by walking around? Like, what does it mean?
Yeah,
because that's the same thing that like I think is constantly debated about, like area effect spells that can move, like Moonbeam, because it says like when you enter for the first time, well, does me moving Moonbeam count as you entering for the first time? You know, and I know there have been answers. Don't add us in the. We know we've. But
seen
it's still like vague enough that like even I think Wizards of the Coast have given like different opinions
some conflicting answers. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for your submission, somebody on the internet. We appreciate the creativity here. This kind of stuff, like I said, things I've never seen before, concepts for character builds that I've never. I haven't seen.
I've never even considered, you know?
Yeah, that's what I live for. That's the homebrew that I love, and that's, I think, what we've built the Copper Fox in to be all about. Stuff you never saw coming. The Kings of Left Field coming out of nowhere with the battle dancing paladin. And you're like, oh, battle dancing paladin, who's also 3 halflings in a trench coat. Tell me more. Each halfling can take a different dance option.
Oh, no, gosh. So, 3 halflings is a trench coat. That was a player race, right? Technically,
yeah.
Or was it a class?
Oh no, it was a subclass.
It was a fighter subclass, wasn't it? Never mind.
I forgot it was a.
But especially combined with the new lineages, I just realized like you could be 3 halflings in a trench coat. That is also a single vampire.
That is also a robot scarecrow.
All right, but that's a different discussion. This is great. And this is a good place, especially in homebrewing, to start. Like, honestly, this is kind of what Wizards does when they release Unearthed Arcana in certain places, where they will make something very powerful and then see what needs to be scaled back. I think this is a very good starting point. And now, once it gets refined, we can have a very interesting and flavorful, like, joyful paladin that's just all about performance and dancing. And we can scale that down and make this dream a reality kind of a thing. And I think this is very cool.
Yeah, definitely. If you want us to talk about a homebrew that you've created or that you've seen, send it to us at our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com, or on social media at thecopperfoxinn. Also, comment below your thoughts on the Oath of Revelry, or you can comment your homebrew down there. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for future Dungeons & Dragons homebrew discussion content. And until next time, keep on adventuring.
If anybody ever comes back.
Who?
Who? Who are you?
Where are we?